This time on Film Ranker, we are looking at classic Universal Studios monster movies. Universal released 30-ish films over the course of 3 decades in a shared universe that predates Marvel by roughly 80 years. Between Frankenstein, Dracula, The Mummy, The Invisible Man, The Wolfman, all of the others, and the many, many sequels, it was a lot of movies. So we're just going to boil it down to the essential Top 10. Without further ado, let's count those down. Number 10. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. As Universal looked for more ways to mash up its monsters, it brought in the comedic talents of Abbott and Costello for a series of films that are quite a bit lighter than the rest of the series. Despite the title, this first installment actually has a lot more Dracula and Wolfman than it does the titular monster, with both Chaney and Lugosi coming in to reprise their roles. Some argue that Abbott and Costello make the monsters look a bit too silly, but at least with this original film, there's an obvious fondness for the characters and actors who look like they're happily in on the joke. Number 9. Son of Frankenstein. The third Frankenstein film doesn't have the depth of the first 2 classics, but it does have a village that is really tired of monsters, and a tremendous cast, teaming up Karloff as the monster with Lugosi in his first appearance as Igor, as well as Sherlock Holmes actor Basil Rathbone, who is fantastic as the next generation of Frankenstein, as well as a young Donnie Dunagan, who would go on to voice Bambi. This one is a little bit of an underrated classic. Number 8. The Creature from the Black Lagoon. Late in the cycle of films, Universal moved away from the slew of sequels and started trying out some new monsters, and the most successful of these was the very last one they invented in The Creature from the Black Lagoon. And while The Creature isn't by any means a terrific film, it is fairly slow. The premise does feel original, and it has some terrific underwater filming, especially for the time. Also, the creature itself looks fantastic. Number 7. The Mummy. If, like me, you're more familiar with mummies being wrapped in bandages and shambling with an arm outstretched, Boris Karloff's well-spoken man in a fez will be a bit of a surprise. The Mummy's perhaps the slowest of all of the Universal monster films. The focus is more on providing backstory than it is on driving action, but Karloff is great, as is Zita Johann, and there are some really memorable shots. Number 6. The Phantom of the Opera. Phantom's only kind of a Universal monster movie. Released in 1925 and then re-released with sound in 1930, it's often seen as the one that paved the way for all of the others, even if the titular monster is not connected to the rest of the series. It was a legitimately scary film for its time, with reports of people fainting at the sight of the Phantom taking his mask off, but it wasn't exactly a hit with critics, though many have come around to its gothic charm over time. Number 5. Dracula. Officially, Phantom of the Opera was the first, but in reality, Dracula and Frankenstein truly kicked off the monster universe and remained its 2 biggest pillars throughout. There aren't many characters that are as recognizable, and Bela Lugosi's at least part of that. It's a bit of a different take, with Dracula coming to London and mostly hanging out outside of upper-class sitting rooms, and it is a bit slow, and most of the action takes place off-screen, unfortunately, including the very anticlimactic finale, but there's a timelessness to it, and Lugosi's talent cannot be denied. Number 4. The Wolfman. Of all the Universal monster movies, this is the one that most leaves the audience wanting more, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It checks all of the boxes very efficiently. Lon Chaney Jr. brings a strange workman-like complexity to the title character. He's kind of an upper-class layabout who's weird with the ladies, but he's also a blue-collar nice guy with a brave streak, and that mishmash does work. Bela Lugosi's also great in his small role. However, the transformation is clunky, and there could be more wolf and more relationship triangle, but everything that's there is great. Number 3, The Invisible Man. While most of these monsters are kind of misunderstood, the Invisible Man's pretty much a straight-up bad guy. Yeah, the serum drives him insane, but by the end of this movie, he's racked up a huge body count and is joyously murdering. Despite all that darkness, however, this is also one of the funniest movies on this list, which is a testament to the talent of phenomenal James Whale, whose cleverly dark style influenced pretty much every dark comedy director since. Number 2, Frankenstein. This is another one directed by James Whale. Frankenstein goes well beyond just being a terrific monster movie and is a terrific movie. Boris Karloff takes a lumbering, mostly speechless monster and truly brings him to life, and Colin Clive fully captures the doctor's range from dutiful son and loving fiancé to raging mad scientist. It's more complex and touching than audiences were expecting, but still, it fully delivers the gothic horror. Number 1, The Bride of Frankenstein. It has often been said that this is one of the greatest sequels of all time, and it is hard to argue. Whale, Karloff, and Clive all up their games for this one, and they need to in order to keep up with scene-stealing Ernest Thesiger as Dr. Pretorius. There are layers upon layers of subtext here, but above it all is a quick-paced, funny movie that embraces everything we love about the genre. There are touching, emotional beats like Frankenstein's interaction with the blind man. There are laugh-out-loud, funny moments. There are actually thrilling scenes, and they all lead up to the climax and Elsa Lanchester's bride, who makes an indelible impression with only 5 short minutes of screen time. There are a lot of great films on this list, but Bride is the best of the bunch. And that is it. Like I said off the top, there are a lot of films that weren't included in this list, and a lot of those are legitimate greats, so please let me know which ones I missed and which would be in your own top 10s, and hopefully I will see you all next time.